And so the mountain awaits for each and every single driver that looks to push their limit. A circuit that has remained unchanged for over 40 years. And now a place which says that for those with the lower formula, those who are looking to try and make sure that it's tactics that win you a race, keep it out of the walls, keep it steady, and it might be home and dry. With no Benny Simonsen here today, Augusto Lovasolo has exactly what he wants with just the start of racing action today. A championship, but can he wrap up this championship with a fourth win this season? That we will find out here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone watching around the world of coverage here today. My name's Jake Sperry. Craig King is along with me for the ride today, with Daniel Costello in the director's chair, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But what to say about Mount Panorama Bathurst? Possibly one of the most fantastic sim racing places in the world to go and race. One of the most amazing bits of road course that you can possibly find. Let's take a look at our GSRC track guide to get ourselves prepared.
Welcome to Mount Panorama Circuit. Most drivers simply refer to this place as Bathurst, with it being located just to the southwest of the city's major hub. But most ominously, and perhaps appropriately, it's been nicknamed the Mountain. With more than 500 feet of elevation change over the course of a lap, it's easy to understand why. Though originally built for racing, it's become a street circuit over time, with the track itself used for regular traffic and featuring residential housing all along the roads. This makes this 4-mile, 23-turn course incredibly unique in the world of racing. In the past, the track has hosted a variety of types of cars, including open-wheelers. But modern safety standards means that most competitive racing has now been limited to sports cars and touring cars. However, the dangers are very real due to the incredibly high speeds and lack of runoff throughout much of the circuit. The quickest parts are the run up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend, and then the flat-out blast back down the Conrad Straight and into the chase. This chicane was added in the late 80s to break up the run down to Murray's Corner. But while most chicanes are derided for ruining the character of a track, the terrifying speed as you approach it and the general difficulty make it fit right in with Bathurst challenges. However, the toughest portions are undoubtedly along the mountain itself, with notorious corners like the Cutting, Brock's Skyline, the Dipper, and Forest's Elbow. In fact, one of the more unique worries of this course is that all of these parts are so narrow that track blockages due to wrecks are not uncommon in the first few laps. The Australian fans often line the fences and hillsides to witness the daredevil spectacle of drivers trying to claim King of the Mountain. You can't blame them with how rare of a sight a track like Bathurst is today.
The mountain of all mountains out here on iRacing, and a circuit that does demand the very best of each and every sim racer that goes and tackles it. A track, Craig, that when I sit down here in New South Wales, I understand that this is a place which is immortalized not only with 1,000 kilometers in a supercar, but also 12 hours in GT spec.
Yeah, you think about this track, and usually you see sports cars, and actually open-wheelers do come down this track during a Bathurst 1000 weekend, but they don't see vehicles like this, and this has been a staple for the Skip Barbers for years around this track. It is just a nice little street circuit, because that's what it is, just to test everybody. The uphill is always tough around here, but it's that downhill that usually catches people out, but in these cars, I think it's going to catch a lot more people out today, because these cars love to slide. Well, how are you meant to keep the car under control if you're sliding down the hill, down Skyline in the Dipper? It's going to be very tough. A smaller field today will help, but you always know it's to Bathurst, carnage awaits around any corner.
Any and every corner is a potential place where the race can be dealt with, but it is one circuit where drivers know that as an end-of-season run, you've got to be at the top level for it. Let's take a look at those championship standings to learn where everyone is. There was one point this season where the field split a certain way, and Augusto Lovasolo was the unlucky driver on the outside looking in. The work he has done this season to build that rating is immortalized with his points haul. 21 over Benny Simonsen, whose real-world career has put him at odds here today. Cannot take to the start of racing action here. So is going to now put himself in a position where he's second. Sam Devontier and Neil Gardner are third and fourth, with Brian Kelly currently in fifth, trying to hold off Jose Luis Meyer in sixth position. Peter Suapanki leads Brendan McDonough in eighth place, with Yannick Morel and Dennis Johansson making up the top 10 in the category as they all sit ready for this final round, which for this race, it's not many laps on paper here, Craig. It's just 10.
It's 10 laps around here. It's a long lap, though, for the drivers, so it will feel quite a bit of a struggle around here, but it is going to be a very long 10 laps. And, of course, it's the open setup. Bring what you want to make, and you do get a chance, a second car if you need it. But, again, with such a long track here, Jake, it's going to be tough to really get the advantage of doing that. A tow will probably definitely put you out the race unless you can get back. And it's old school rules, disqualification at 17 incident points. May see that today. Usually you get a couple 0x touching the wall. If you go down to the chase, a lot of grass there to pick up a lot of 1x's.
Yeah, and you've got to be very much on the level that you can just try and attack and gain as much as you can out there on this circuit. It's a very hilly circuit with a lot of elevation change, so you've got to be very switched on to what the car is doing, keeping an eye on those ride heights and maybe not trying to gain any more of an advantage at red line. But at least at this stage, the charge is going to be about where you start going on and making this qualifying work. So they've got 8 minutes, 2 laps to go and get itself set. But at least at this moment in time, while you're climbing up the hill and looking for that first flying lap to be set, these drivers will be looking to try and get the tyres into an operating window where the second lap is the most important.
Yeah, the second lap's going to be all important, but you kind of want to get that banker lap in. Make sure you've got one to just keep things safe for you. It's a smaller field today, as I said, but you still want to be near the front because the straight down at the Conrod is going to be very important for these drivers out here today, and they'll need to make sure that they get to use that advantage on the straight. You've got to be in it to win it, just like this man has been. Augusto Lovisolo, the Italian stallion, as he comes on down at the field, and look at the slide, using that inside camber there at the dipper, just keep the car going. And then the ever tricky Forest Elbow, you want to brake before the dip. You don't want to bottom out the car. These cars don't really have a bottom, and he just avoids. You can tell this is a safe lap because he didn't push right to the edge of the wall.
No, and now on the fastest straight in Australian sim racing, heading to the fastest corner in Australian sim racing, which is the Chase. Just 191 kilometers an hour climbing over the crest here, but this secondary launch pulls you to around 200 kilometers an hour, tipping the car over to the right-hand side and now opening up this left-right chicane. The only ever change on this mountain circuit, this public road, is that right, left and right that they go through. The run to Murray's Corner as they pass the hotel that gets booked up a year in advance, by the way, as you go and get to the finish. Tim Hendrickson, fastest on a 2:33.5. Now, it is important here on this qualifying to go and get yourself out early to set a time. You've only got 8 minutes to set a time. Lovisolo, despite it not looking quick, slow is fast, 2/10 clear of Jose Luis Meyer with that attempt to go quickest. You only have half a minute's leeway to get out of the pits to get your 2 laps in with the outlap.
Yeah, and this is actually just a warm-up lap. Think of it like in F1 when they go out on their first quali for Q3 on used soft, because the fastest lap time this week in quali was done by Lovisolo, a 32.587. So he's got half a second out there on the track to try and find. Probably will do it with the colder track temp today at 24 Celsius. That's a 76 Fahrenheit for those that are still awake in the other side of the world. Enzo Cantor going up now, had a really good start, and look at him start to manage and wrestle the car through Griffins up into Reed. Always a tricky corner, but when you've got a lot of downforce or lack of downforce and not a lot of power going up through Reed, not very tough. Solman as well, very clean, keeping it on all the curves, use all the space, open up to get into McPhillamy and avoid touching that barrier.
You pretty much have got to be touching the metal grate each and every single time you're going over the top of the hill, and descending back down it again, Jerne Zorec, then the teammate of Sam Devontier, who's not here today for this final round of the season. worth noting here today, we've got a split for the first time since the season opener out here, which is really, really exciting. Strength of field here, Craig, 5,427, and that is without a 9K driver like Benny Simonsen being here.
It just goes to show just the quality here. The lowest driver, unfortunately, is Luke's Neo. 3,800. Normally, if you're 3,800, you're thinking, might just get into top split, might not. When you think you're the last car in top split, you feel a little bit out of depth, but he's doing as good as he can as Zorek comes down himself to the chase for the final time. These are going to be the final time. Meyer has retired the car. I think he had a bit of a slide through the dipper. Couldn't do much. Here's Hendrickson trying to make some time up as well as he comes in to Murray's. Do not hit the curb. The only curb you don't want to hit on this track is the one at Murray's corner, but you can hit that exit one. He'll come across the line. See how quickly he goes. It's only a 33-1.
It's good enough for second, though, and there's improvement for Enzo Cantor, who goes third. Brian Kelly remains sixth position out there with that qualifying effort. Jernej Zorek on a 34.2 doesn't improve. Lovis Solo even quicker, 32.7. And Neil Gardner, for the first time, is staring at the front row of the grid with a 32.9. That'll be that as far as qualifying goes, but it looks dominant from the champions-elect out there. Augusto Lovisolo will have control of the field on a 232.7 with Neil Gardner alongside for company on that front row. It then leans Tim Hendrickson, who starts third along with Enzo Cantor fourth. Jose Luis Meyer, the mayor of Quicksville, is fifth with Dennis Johansson in P number 6. Brian Kelly goes from seventh with Lucas Neo in eighth position. The Italian, Jernej Zorek and Chris Wayne will make up your top 10. Just the 13 here today because of the split. Jesus Cabal and Peter Suapanki are 11th and 12th, and no time set for Joachim Oshbeck, who found himself spun around on that first attempt. It will be a start which these drivers will think is easy to go, but once they round turn 2, Craig, it's going to be one of the toughest opening laps of the season.
Yeah, the early straight here. They're not used to seeing a straight this early in the races. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do for that first corner, or that first straight, sorry. Held corner for a reason. It is oh so tough out there. Lovisolo, Gardner, two of the fastest qualifying times we've seen this week. Not the fastest. Let's see if they can convert that pace into real-world race pace. But again, you've got to be there to win it. And as we saw yesterday in other races with slipstreams, you don't want to be fighting too early when you come down those long straights.
Those are incredibly amazing places to make passes. This is a thinking drivers championship, and this will be a thinking drivers race. It doesn't matter that you can make the move. It's when you make the move that becomes the all-important critical factor. Track temperature here today is 24 degrees Celsius out there. So these drivers are in a relatively cool condition, but as drivers get themselves set and ready for the final time this season, what has been a magical season of racing, we are underway from Mount Panorama. Lovisolo, no surprises, going to get the launch he wants as everybody falls single file to Hell's Corner, turn number 1. Out there on track, Lovisolo leading Gardner, Hendrickson, Cantor, Meyer and Johansson. Your top 6, and everybody looks to dive into line immediately. First drive to keep a focus on is Tim Hendrickson. And look immediately at drivers like Enzo Cantor, those micro weaves, trying to get the tyre temperature up early as they look to hit towards turn number 2. The quarry corner coming up. Lovisolo unchallenged.
Yeah, Lovisolo unchallenged with a little bit of overspeed for Gardner. Decided against it, and more drivers making moves.
Whoa!
Looks like Frank Kelly's had a moment in the background. Everyone getting around him. That's very good to see. I think he just had a little bit of a tap there. Overspeed catching some of the drivers out early. Rest of the field, they've managed to keep it clean.
Yes, Lucas Neo he's come together with, who's gone launching down the inside at turn 2, got halfway alongside, and then it's front to rear contact, and somehow, some way, it just about got kept out of the barriers there by Kelly. Lovisolo being swarmed over the top of the hill, out over Metal Grey, and now over to McPhillamy Park and Peterbrook Skyline. 5 clear at the moment. Johansson trying to hold on to it in P6, but down the hill, this is where you're just trying to roll with the punches right now through the various lefts and rights in this big dipper corner.
Into the big kipper. A little bit of a slide there from Hendrickson. Everyone keeps it clean. And this is where you've got to now start remembering It's won and lost here, and more lost than won. I lose a lot of time driving any car around here. Top of the wall for Henriksen, and that's not going to affect him too much as Spark picked up. But you see, all the cars still together in a queue, 5 seconds between first and 12th. But as you say, Jake, can we put a blanket over them?
I think we can. It was the right rear that was the contact there. And here goes Mayer, who is always aggressive, trying to go to the left-hand side past Enzo Cantor. Here comes Neil Gardner for the first time this season. Is going to lead a lap, the only driver with a drop week still in this one. And he's looking like he doesn't want to use it outright. He runs a little wide going through there at the chase, but he gets the run that's needed. So Mayer now up to 4th, Cantor down to 5th. And Lovisolo now in 2nd position as they now set to Murray's corner. Let's take a look at this. So this is Neo looking to try and go down the inside. He's a little late trying to make that lunge down through, but he gets alongside enough to command that space, and ultimately it's the understeer that catches out.
Yeah, I think as well the cold tyres just causing a little bit of an effect there, and that may have caught it. It was a bad combination of everything when you think about it. The hot overspeed, the cold tyres, the understeer there, a little bit of camber there on that corner as well, so you kind of want to get straight into the curb there right away, but you can see the driver up ahead going, trying to go too wide, going 3 wide. Gardner needs a really good position here because he needs to get a better result to try and make that one drop week count. 1 point away from the top 3. He's currently P2. That would be enough for him.
Certainly would. Cantor understeering there in the back, and he's going to drop the place to Dennis Johansson, who was a little despondent over the radio, seeing Mayer and Cantor side by side. Can we not lose the front drivers, please? They've got them side by side, I guess not. So not happy about that, but they will continue on 1, 2 and 3 because they were battling with Lovisolo now leading Gardner 2nd, Hendrickson 3rd. They've not actually lost anything out there in this group. If anything, Lucas Neo and Jone Zorech now have a chance to launch onto the back of this group as well. Gardner having a little look at Lovisolo here going through Solomon Park, taking the shallower line, but for the moment, you never want to go too wide up the mountain. Maybe lap 10 if you're desperate.
Yeah, maybe lap 10 if you're desperate. If you really want to get the aggression and try and put your foot down and do a breakaway at lap 9, but I don't feel these drivers are going to be looking for anything like that. They're probably going to be going side by side on that final lap. They've got the space and they've got the speed in these cars. The understeer will catch them out as they come down again to the Forest Elbow. I want to see if Henriksen taps that wall once again. He had to lift off a little bit there because he almost was going to hit it. And it's crazy to think that in these cars, just a little bit of a lift can still happen with that understeer. Maybe Henriksen gets the better of though with that little lift. He's been able to get a bit more throttle, and Gardner is getting caught out.
Yep, so Neil Gardner here in trouble, and Mayer might try and push this one to 3 wide, but thinks better of it, wants to run in the slipstream set by Lovisolo. So there goes 1, there goes 2, straight on by, and now it's settled into rhythm. Lovisolo from Hendrickson, from Mayer, your top 3 it now sits, and Johansson stays in 5th, Cantor then in P6, and this is pack mentality racing. You've got a group of 2 on their own, and then the next group behind of Cabal, of Wayne, of Suapanki, that's there in the mix, as well as Joachim Oshbeck. So they're all together right now in their own group, and this is where you need a good toe and good understanding of race mechanics to stay in this race, because you don't want to go too aggressive too early. You just slow the group down.
And that is what they are looking to do. They probably want to be looking to slingshot each other. Neo's not a driver who's been in the series a while, but Zorech's behind him. They're working together. You can just see those 2 cars just in the background just go off to a different line. If they can work together to slingshot, they can catch up to these leaders. But the leaders go side by side here. They're not, though, because Henriksen's going to get the position, and Lovisolo, with that pack mentality, decides, I know what I need to do. I need to keep it clean, keep it safe. We need to start pulling ahead here. I just want to keep here until the final lap.
And so, patience is required from those at the front as Tim Hendrickson takes his lead of the race. As it's side by side to the cutting, Chris Wayne, and there's Jesus Cabal on the outside, looking to try and go the long way around and has to double take through the corner, opens the door up for Peter Suapanki then here as he looks to try and get that pass done. 2 cars, exactly the same livery, in the same group out there at the moment, and Chris Wayne gets himself enough then on Suapanki then to run on by, getting through on Jesus Cabal for that place. And as close as you like over the top of the hill and back down it again, Tim Hendrickson, no stranger to racing. He's someone who is always in this skip, Barber, and is always putting the laps in.
always, and he's one of those drivers that love this car, and a lot of these drivers grew up on this car in iRacing. I grew up on this car in iRacing, so it's a car that's got a lot of heart for some of the older drivers. Some of the newer drivers, you don't know what it was like back in my day, and that is what it feels like when we're seeing these cars. 6 cars all going down the hill together. That's usually something that you see in GT cars. To see these 6 all close up together, up and down the hill, it is something fantastic to see. The respect, the driving, it is oh so clean. Lovisolo retakes the lead, and I think Mayer wants to be on that aggression right now. He sees an opening. He may be looking for another position. He gets blocked out, but behind, Johansson goes for one himself.
Yeah, lunges through, and it now puts together Neil Gardner and Enzo Cantor, who I would say are not on each other's Christmas card lists at this point in time. He doesn't want to be shuffled that far back down the pack, and so he'll look at Enzo Cantor and think, last driver I want behind me is that Italian number 7 that sits there. Zorach is there behind, trying to work with Lucas Neo, and they've not completely lost contact with this group here, so they've done a really good job of keeping themselves somewhat in range, but they're now at 2.2 seconds back and struggling. Johansson with the fastest lap now looking for 3rd, and they might struggle here with the group because Lovisolo and Hendrickson are side by side. It's a duel on the straights that they've got to deal with right now, and for the moment Johansson might want a little bit of help because here comes Neil Gardner, who's going to force the issue here towards the quarry corner. 3 wide they go. Mayer backs out of it as they run on through. Gardner trying to go around the outside, understeers out into the marbles. There goes 1, 2, 3 places.
Yeah, they needed to keep together because they were almost losing the toe of the leaders. Caught back up to it, but that all started with Mayer having a mistake through Hell's Corner, and Neil thought, I might have the run here. And the man who has always been a bit too patient, I feel, in these draft races this season, once again gets shuffled out, trying to be aggressive, but the camber just caught him off there going into quarry. We've got to think about this, though. How many times have we seen this season Neil Gardner finish at the back of these trains? One of these days, he needs to get them to the front. This has to be the day.
Well, if he wants to go and work with the pace he's got to be aggressive somewhere and find that. He's a very passive driver out there, and it's great for your iRating, it's great for your safety rating. It's why he's a number 3 driver in this field, because he knows how to get a finish and he knows how to keep himself out of trouble. The issue is he keeps himself out of trouble and he just doesn't get the points for it, so he's maybe not got as much as his pace level would indicate in this car. Back down the hill again then, out to the Forest Elbow here on lap 4, and along Conrod Straight. Once more, Dennis Johansson is making himself known. Oh, in the grass! 2 tyres out there, trying to procure the line. Taken by Hendrickson, and now he'll pass in the grass. Trying to get around him, has to back out of it there. This is deadly from Dennis Johansson, and now Lovisolo will have prime position to try and take the lead away. Cantor through on Mayer as he moves into 4th place, but Lovisolo and Hendrickson continue their scrap, and Hendrickson holds.
Yeah, Hendrickson holds. I think Johansson didn't want to do a Kevin Estra there, but he tried to just scrub off the overspeed without lifting off. A very interesting move there. Did not work, but he stays alive in 3rd. And a good hold around the outside of the chase for Hendrickson, but a mistake into Hell Corner, holding up Lovisolo. That will hold up the rest of the field as well, and he now gets on the brakes and lifts as well. And almost in the background, there's a concertina effect. Everybody checks up at the best moment. That's why there's some of the best drivers out here, because with no offense to us lower drivers, one of us would have got caught by that concertina effect, and now Johansson is the man on the outside. He's not the man in the middle, though, because he would love to get back in that slipstream.
He would do, but realises that he can't make that move, and Lovisolo pinches Tim Hendrickson down low here as they head to the quarry corner. So hitting the grass there on the exit of Murray's enough, but Hendrickson just throws the car through the middle of the corner. They're racing like it's the final lap of this race. We're 2 wide, 2 deep. Coming up to the cutting, Cantor wisely backs out of it here as they head through. Lovisolo just takes the road away from Tim Hendrickson and moves himself up to the race lead once again. Both of them are drivers who love to lead from the front, and so you really do get a sense from the Italian and the Dutchman that both of those drivers want and need to be in that place. And here comes the day. Dennis Johansson searching over the top of Reed Park.
Just oh so close there. I thought the wheels were going to be touching, about 5-6 times in that whole process. And Lovisolo feels that he's the quicker guy here, and he just has that momentum. Dennis, you're not going to try to do this. Down Skyline! Down Skyline! You are not going to do this! And around the outside! What's a move from Dennis Johansson? He has the momentum, and you can see that has rattled Henriksen.
I am flabbergasted at an attempt like that at Skyline. You don't make those moves half-heartedly, and Dennis Johansson, with a launch, with a run, chucks it down the inside, and Tim Henriksen, quite rightly, is rattled, because look at what they've given. They've given 0.6 of a second away here to the likes of Augusto Lovisolo. And again, Henriksen will come straight back down the hill and say, well, that was nice, that was clever to make that move there, but what has it really netted you? As they head in through the chase, pinch, contact, just somehow Henriksen survives by opening the steering. Move made.
Move made, I thought for a moment. That was, again, the overspeed and just trying to find the same patch of concrete. They've caught back up to Lovisolo, and now the drivers just have to have a little bit of a calm moment out there. They have to start thinking calm, maybe go to the Barbie on the side of the track and just have some food. Just reset, because that was a very chaotic 2.5 minutes for the drivers from the start of the lap to the end of the lap. And you've got to feel that this could be Henriksen almost being the cork in the bottle right now. One lap he's not been comfortable. Lovisolo dominated him. Johansson pushed him off the track. Now you've got to feel if he doesn't get to the lead here, he's really going to be there being told, get to the back of the line. We may see him free wide very shortly, because I think Johansson's got the speed.
He's got the speed, but remember, this is public road, and Mayer was looking to the inside on Cantor, who just about covered it off on the inside. Lovisolo chucks it back down the inside, the same way that Henriksen did a lap ago. Henriksen with the inside heading to the cutting. Cantor's got to go around the outside now as well. Too wide, too deep up to the cutting. Cantor backs out, but Henriksen keeps his nose in and holds the place and now leads out there overalls. They now crest the top 6, all there in play. Back a little bit, half a lap. There was contact down at the chase between Jesus Cabal and Chris Wade, but ultimately they're able to all continue at the moment with Suapanki, Cabal and Wayne together. On with Dennis Johansson, who has a little look, and will he look to try and set this up again over the top? He is brushing the rear suspension there of Augusto Lovisolo. Up over the top, Lovisolo is pivoting with intent to want to get through anywhere he can.
I just love seeing how the other drivers, they're struggling here. But you look at Lovisolo, everything looks calm. The car looks set, the car looks stable. Not seeing a slide out of him today going down the hill. Rest of the drivers trying to do it. I see a lock up from the back of Johansson there. Yes, he did. And a slide in the background from Enzo Cantor. Not going to get the best of run. I don't feel like Johansson's going to get a run this time by. Look for Lovisolo to get the run. He's going to be side by side to hit the kink to the chase, and he's going to take that inside, well, the inside for the chase, but the outside for the king. Nothing for Henriksen there. He just has to yield. Maybe a late response. Here comes Johansson.
He'll get one, but look at this. Oh, so clever by Tim Henriksen. Boxes him in, so he doesn't get the double run. That brings Enzo Cantor into play, lunging down the inside. Can't quite get the run, and that chops up the run now as Mayer will pick the pocket on the inside of the Movano driver. So just like that, it's a case of where are you finding what you need? Gardner searches around everywhere. It's still there on the inside from Enzo Cantor, and he keeps the mayor of Quicksville at bay. So stays back there in 5th place, and it might even be 6th as the zip up Jordan and McLaren now looks to try and think of a move, but we'll have to think better of it. Gardner's still there in 6th. And I'm keeping an eye on that gap of these two here, trading in tandem of Jerne Zoric and Luke's Neo, as both of those two look to try and stay close, but they did drop 0.6 on that last lap to Neil Gardner.
Yeah, they're working together. They're doing that slingshot like the leaders are doing the slingshot. And that's the problem. They're making the right moves, but they're just not confident over the hill like these drivers. There is an overlap here. Lovisolo's going to go for it. He retakes that lead, or does he? Because he's not been able to commit this, and they're still going to go side by side. They were like this last time as they came up to the cutting, and it's going to be tough to make a move around the outside of the cutting. So I don't expect Lovisolo to try this. He tried it for a moment, and there's still overlap. They're going to go up into Reed side by side, and Lovisolo's going to hold this through Reed Park. They'll go side by side with an overlap, and Johansson's looking at this. No, stop it, boys. They're 2 by 2. Stop it, boys.
no, don't do this. Too wide on lap 7, too deep. Cantor with the inside now at McPhillamy might take third away from Dennis Johansson. This is deadly dangerous sim racing. Lovisolo almost contact over the top. They're now going to throw it down at Skyline once again. Augusto Lovisolo, little push by Cantor on Tim Hendrickson, but they all hold it there nicely and sorted. How that has not ended in absolute tears is a modern miracle.
That is an iRacing moment, because all 4 of those drivers went hell-bent for leather there. They tussled, they banged wheels, and somehow they're all standing to go again. I didn't hear no bell, Jake. They're still going to keep battling here. What a move from Lovisolo. What driving from all 4 of them.
This is where you're searching around and thinking, what will I do to get a victory? And now here comes the look from Jose Luis Maya, who's trying to pick up a mega run along this one. It's 2 wide, then 1 wide, then 2 wide, and look at how they fan, heading to the chase. Maya, contact into the back. Lovisolo and Cantor both dispatched from the group. Mayer with the contact that made that happen, and the champions-elect is now going to be so upset because he will not be able to fight for the win now.
It looked like a lot of overspeed there from Mayer. Did he get the car locked down? It's what I wonder. I just think he was looking for a move that was not there. No, he didn't break in time. He broke a little bit later, and I think that just started the chain reaction. And Mayer has got the position, not the way he wanted it. Gardner's got the position, not the way he wanted it. Henriksen has got the lead, not the way he wanted it.
No, but he's got a gap of a second, and now he will look to try and maintain. For Jose Luis Maya, I look at that front wing and say, does it have any crumpling? And it will do on the front right as it goes. Dennis Johansson, no shocks, is going to easily make that move through. And this is the most critical lap of the race. If they can hold the pace of Tim Hendrickson, they're in play. Zorich and Luke are going to be, Luke Snell are going to be happy. Cantor has been able to survive in 7th with Joachim Oshbeck, but Lovisolo down in ninth is going to be the innocent party in all of it.
Yeah, he just had no idea that was happening behind him. He was so focused on what was going around him that he tried his best to just keep it going. But even though the leaders are just having a little bit of a rest, still battles going on for the rest of the field. To a Panky battling Chris Wade, and behind him is Jesus Cabal, who's trying to make his way back up. They're a few seconds behind Lovisolo. Lovisolo is basically in a world of his own right now, just driving around. Brian Kelly, talking about a man on his own, still not been able to recover after that early race incident.
Yeah, front wing there is struggling about, and so for Brian Kelly, he's there 4 seconds adrift, and when you're on your own in 13th position, it is just awful, that feeling of knowing there's nothing you can do to chase down the cars in front. Hendrickson, your leader. Johansson second. Mayer in third. And Neil Gardner finds himself in 4th. And that gap at 7/10 of a second. That was a great mountain there for Dennis Johansson. He has kept the stability of this race in check. And because of that, these 4 are still fighting for the victory. And they will have just a couple popsicle sticks in the air when they come to the line. Mayer, unperturbed by what happened a lap ago, easily gets the pass done on Conrad.
Yeah, and I wonder, I know Johansson was having some words on the radio after the incident. I didn't catch what he was saying, but I wonder if he's also just playing it safe right now. We always talk about the best place to be on the last lap of a draft track is 3rd position. It has really shown that today. The 3rd has really helped with some of the drivers getting the massive double toe. But look at this man. This is the man that could play spoiler here. He's been with the pack forever. He's taken the fastest lap again. And you've got to put your name, and you've got to put your pen, circle this name, Neil Gardner. I feel this could be the track that he could cause the upset.
Remember, if Neil Gardner picks up the win here today, he gets second in the championship over Benny Simonsen. So he needs a victory for that. If he gets second, it goes to count back, where Benny, by factor of having 3 wins this season, would go over the top of him. But for the moment, Dennis Johansson gets the launch he wants and makes the move. Does a lovely job of making that pass and gaining the place that was necessary. And over the curbs they go once again. Tim Hendrickson holding himself then at the margin that only he can, which is next to nothing. Oh my goodness, down the inside, a little bit of contact, and he forces his way through. Hendrickson's not happy over the radio on that one, but Dennis Johansson, that is brute force sim racing.
Yeah, I think it was just the fact, he had the overspeed. There was a bit of a tap there. It was a technically bump and run. We're on a draft track here. We might well call it a bump and run like NASCAR. It was not intentional there, but he had to just make that move. A save, though, from Henriksen. You've only got 2 meters to make a save there, and he makes a really good save to keep it going. Johansson just trying to apologize there, not what he was looking for, but who's been the aggressor today? It has been that Dane of Dennis Johansson.
I tell you what, Tim Hendrickson was so unhappy as here goes Cantor side by side with Uzbek. Bye-bye. 1, 2, in the wall. Cantor back across the road, and that will be that for them too.
How did Lovie Solo get around from that? He had to dodge the wreck twice. Not just once, twice. And there was a lot of speed there. Uzbek taking a bit too much speed, I feel. Yeah, but I just got to keep my eyes on. No, actually, I take that back. Lovie Solo did get caught up in that. He did get a little bit of damage and did get caught in that wreck. I don't know if it's actually going to show, but he does have some sort of incident there, but he manages to keep the car driving. Let's have a look at that, because it looks like he got away from it at first.
And they're going for the race lead as well, so stay with it as they go. So this was a case of Cantor trying to take his natural line. Uzbek there has done the wrong thing, and he's just not been able to turn into the corner. There is contact between Cantor and Lovasolo. Not much he can do about that, but he was able to bounce relatively unscathed. Now with Murray's corner to go, we've got one final lap of this race. So now you start saying, what more can you do? Dennis Johansson sits in the prime place. Tim Hendrickson, who was so upset on that last lap, the Dutch speaking came out of his mouth. And then he looks behind at Mayer, who caused the big incident that took Cantor and Lovasolo out of this race, and the ever-quiet Neil Gardner in position number 4. It's a case where it's a time to chase, and the dogs are there and waiting to pounce there for Dennis Johansson, thinking about, do I want to make the move on this straight? Now moves to the inside, and Neil Gardner will also follow in tow. Too wide, too deep. Hendrickson, little bit of contact as he goes through. Might be 2 for 1 here. 2 for 1 is it going to be? Or maybe even 3 as they go through. Gardner up into second position now. Is in the prime place to chase and needs a great mountain. Mayer contact with Hendrickson, trying to go around the outside. Doesn't quite find it. Gap of half a second now for Dennis Johansson, and I would say that that's the perfect gap for Neil Gardner. He'll have one chance to make this move, and it will come at the end of the Conrad straight to go and make this pass. Hendrickson will try and play spoiler though, up over the consecutive left-hand bend, over the mountain road, through Solomon Park, over the metal grate. McPhillamy leads to Peter Brock's skyline, and the vista view down the hill is, can I find that one move that gets it sorted and done? Chasing down now with the Big Dipper approaching. Johansson still with 2 car lengths of an advantage, extend it to 3 as he now looks to drop for the Forest elbow, but this is what he's been trying to play for, a gap here to make things happen. Mayer behind him 4th, didn't catch it on camera, has a wiggle, that will take him out of contention to fight for this one, but it's now up to these 2, Gardner and Hendrickson, to maybe work together. Serpentine comes into play, perfectly done by Dennis Johansson, because it brings Tim Hendrickson up to second, and Hendrickson's got to fall into line. He's got to try and get that move. Gardner looks to cross the beam and try and get back, and now it's going to be a case of battle for the apex, and look at the run of Hendrickson. Johansson has seen a ghost. Contact, they go in. 1 and 2, go straight on. It's Gardner who's got the lead, but don't count Mayer out. The Mayer of Quicksville will now have 1 corner to get this move done. He'll have to do it around the outside of Murray's corner. Can he steal it at the 11th hour? 1 corner left, round the outside, so short run to the line, tries to go up and under. Neil Gardner wins.
What a win! You thought the dog was in Johansson? Neil Gardner had the dog in him all along, and he was there at the right moment. And what did we say? 3rd position on the straight, wins it. An unfortunate moment between Johansson goes. Brian Kelly got to hold on to this position as well. Gets it. Chris Wayne, gets it. Got it just to hold around the outside of Murray's corner. Great defense there for Chris Wayne, but what a finish. You got to be in it to win it, Jake. We said that half an hour ago. Neil Gardner was definitely there to win it.
What an incredible finish to an incredible season. Peter Suapanki, by the way, had a blown engine and is going to be the last finisher here. It's completely imploded the final group here. So the likes of Jesus Cabal as well has run into issues late on in this race and has found himself out of placement. But it goes to show why we love the Skip Barber race series here on the Global SimRacing Channel, because anything is possible as a scenario to finish that race. And I'm sure that Jose Luis Maya was looking at, I am this close to picking up what's needed. But at the point he needed it the most, Neil Gardner will be second in the championship as the season comes to its dramatic conclusion. He wins here today around Mount Panorama and does so by 0.2 of a second over Jose Luis Maya. Dennis Johansson and Tim Hendrickson's games at the front of the field finally come to blows on the final lap as they take each other out of contention. Lucas Neo will finish off in 5th ahead of Jerne Zorech, both of them having a great run, 5th and 6th. Augusto Lovisolo will feel a little downhearted in 7th position, so not much that can be done, with Chris Wayne in 8th, Brian Kelly 9th, and then a full half a minute back of that is Jesus Cabal, who rounds out the top 10. Peter Suapanki with the blown engine will end up finishing on the lead lap. It will be 1 lap down for Enzo Cantor and Joachim Oshbeck, who both came together in what was a very, very charged moment between those two drivers. Cantor unlucky on 2 occasions here today to get that all nicely done and sorted. But Craig, it just goes to show how wonderful this series is and has been over the course of this season. It is the lifeblood of great driving out there, and I believe you've managed to take the chance to run down pit lane, and I believe you've caught up with Enzo Cantor.
Yeah, I've got Enzo Cantor here after the race. It was not the way you were expecting to finish the race, Enzo, but everything there at the start was looking very close.
Yeah, hi all guys. I was happy to be here because it was the last race of the season, and even if I didn't have any chance to do the winning the championship, I was here for fun and to try to gain the best result as possible. But well, I think it's not so easy to race with brain. Sometimes this community people speak too much and don't know how to drive. This time I was killed from Mella without any reason. I was only braking in a safe way because we were too many cars in that corner. So I braked a little bit too early in order to not finish over Lovisolo and Hendrickson. But Mella didn't care about that and carried me out, pushing out again Lovisolo. Again, Osbeck, I was struggling with the car. I was a little bit slow in the straights because I had front wing damages, but I was very faster in the corners, in the section, the tricky section in the middle of the track. But Osbeck didn't want to wait, and he attacked me before that section, with no chance to pass me, and smashed over me, smashing me into wall. So this is not the most clever and intelligent way to drive in this top split. So I'm sad, but I have to say that the level of the brains here is leveling down.
It's a shame what happened as well, because before that we saw some of the best racing up the top of the hill side by side, and it just goes to show that you don't need to be side by side early, but that's happened. And when you're going up the hill like that, side by side, what is the thought process apart from, please don't hit me?
Well, in this track you can use many strategies. You have to stay calm because you can have the best chances in the last 3 laps. But in the same time, you have to manage to gain some positions every lap in order to stay maximum in the third one, because if you are in the third position in the last straight of the last lap, you have the most big chance to win. But it's not so easy because in the middle of the train, someone make a little mistake. So you have to decide to leave the throttle in order to stay safe and then wait more, or to push your nose in that moment and try to stay side by side in order to gain a position. But there is a big risk to lose time and lose the train. So it's not so easy. You have to know very well your opponents. You have to know very well what is in their brain. But sometimes you think to know what is in the brain, but you are wrong, and so you are not able to manage in the right way. I was very calm. I was waiting for the right moment. I was passing all the time. Someone did mistakes. My race was not so aggressive, too much aggressive. Because I was not fighting for the championship, and I didn't want at all destroy the cars that were battling for the championship. But someone here doesn't think like me.
Well, one thing is for sure, it's time to get your thinking hats on because the season is over. So what is your process for next season? Are you going to be coming back in, looking to try and reclaim some of those top spots that you had at the start of the season? Or will you just decide to just play it safe for the next season?
Well, the goal for the next season, first of all, is that you are again here with us to do this awesome broadcast. Because with no broadcast, I don't know if I will do again this league. But in the next for the next one, well, I have to stay in front as much as possible in order to avoid disaster in the middle of the train and the crazy ads in this pack. So my goal is to practice more in qualifying with cold tires. That is the most I have to do to stay in front, and well, let's see what will happen in the next season.
Well, let's see what happens in the next season, but you've got a nice week off, Enzo. We wish you all the best, and thank you very much for coming in today. Not the race you wanted today. Started 4th, unfortunately finished 11th, Enzo. We look forward to seeing you next season.
Yeah, thank you as always for your really awesome and professional work, and well, I really wish to see you again in the next season.
That was Enzo Cantu, who finished 12th today. And I'll hand back from the semi-professional to the professional, Jake, to wrap it up.
Well, I am so professional, I forgot to unmute my microphone. But don't put yourself down like that, Craig. You've done an excellent job today. But what a wonderful series that we have found ourselves with here in the Skip Barber Race Series for 2025 Season 2. There is no real understanding of what makes great sim racing, but the one thing for certain is each and every round this season, there has been a great fight for the victory each and every single time. And you cannot say that with any other series out there on the iRacing service. So this is a wonderful series. And here at the Global SimRacing Channel, we'd like to say that it's been an absolute honor and privilege to bring this championship over to you as we get ourselves sorted. There is great sim racing on the horizon still. But in terms of where we are, we're heading to week 13, so there's not much coming up initially, but I'm sure that the inner workings of what comes up next with us here on the Global Sim Racing Channel is going to be fantastic. From the entire team today that has brought this show over to you as part of a Genesis Extreme production, from Craig King, who's been alongside me, Daniel Costello, who has been in the booth as production trailer manager, and of course, on top of that, you've got Dougie Beard, who's been working the cameras. My name is Jake Sperry. At the end of it all means something when it all comes together. You battle for success. You battle for victory. And at Mount Panorama, you look at one thing for certain. Keep yourself in with a chance at the chase, and you have got an opportunity to win the race. It is as simple as that. And for Neil Gardner, a culmination of making 11 of the 12 rounds this season, of always being nearly there through each and every opportunity. Now the chance has come and gone. And it's finally a victory. Second in the championship. Lovasolo may limp to the line, but he is your Skip Barber Race Series champion for 2025 Season 2. And we hope to see you again, if not for next season, but for the next great sim racing action that comes to you here on the Global SimRacing Channel.
This is iRacing.